I've recorded this intro so many times, I just can't get it right. But nevertheless, what's going on, guys? And today I want to give you my input, my opinion on the way that the Barclays Premier League is heading. I don't think it's a bright future for the Barclays Premier League the way it's going this summer. Okay, my main issue with the Barclays Premier League is the teams and the superstars that they're bringing in into their clubs is just not very fair on the rest of the league, to be honest. Before I start my rant though, fully anyway, I just like to give you some of the biggest rumours going around at the moment. So Jesus Gomez, I believe that's how you say it, is wanted by Newcastle United. Just recently got relegated to the Championship from Atletico Madrid. That is a massive team. I don't know how good he is though, to be honest. Another one, which I will touch on later in this video, Paul Pogba is wanted by Manchester United and Real Madrid from Juventus. That's a big player, and that would be quite scary to see in a Manchester United shirt, especially with the likes of Mkhitaryan, Rooney, Ibrahimovic, Martial, Juan Mata. Wijnaldum is wanted by Tottenham Hotspur from Newcastle United. I could actually see this one happening, but hopefully Rafa Benitez holds on to Wijnaldum. Newcastle United is my second favourite club, but hopefully they hold on to him so that they can get out of the Championship, and then they still have him for when they come back in the Barclays Premier League, if they come back to the Barclays Premier League anytime soon, that is. John Stones is wanted from Everton to Manchester City. He's a young lad. He's a big prospect, and he's got a big future ahead of him as long as he stays away from the bad things off the pitch and doesn't get any injuries. I believe he has a bright future as an English centre-back. I just talked about this guy actually when I was talking about Paul Pogba going to Manchester United, but Juan Mata is wanted by Everton from Manchester United. That's quite of a, and I can't really see that one happening, to be honest. I mean, I'm not saying that Manchester United really need Juan Mata, but Everton don't really need him either, to be honest. But whatever. I mean, maybe they've got a plan. Maybe Everton are hoping to get rid of a player to make room for him. But I can't really see that working with the style of play that Everton play and the style of play that Juan Mata plays. Alright, let's get into the video properly now. And let's start. Me moaning about the transfers that are happening in the Barclays Premier League that I'm getting pretty sick of, to be honest. I mean, I love watching superstars, right? Obviously I do. Everyone does, because they're so talented, so interesting to watch. But the thing is, each time a big team brings in a big superstar, a big player, it makes it so much harder for smaller teams to compete with them. It's no longer as unpredictable, sorry, as the Premier League used to be. It's getting more and more predictable each time a big player comes in. Now, Zlatan Ibrahimovic has just signed for Manchester United, right? That is a big player playing for a big team with a lot of history, right? That is a a great signing for Manchester United. Also signed Mkhitaryan. He's a solid winger. And I think they will use him over Mata, and they'll use him at a cam position, winger position, probably more than Depay as well. What happened to Depay as well? I mean, he had so much hype around him, and he just didn't really deliver. But apart from that, yeah, it's hopefully you can see what I'm getting at. It's not only Manchester United. It's Chelsea have done it in the past. Manchester City do it every season. They sign players like De Bruyne, Kun Aguero, company, so it makes it much harder for like Crystal Palace to beat City or Chelsea. You know, I'm not saying Crystal Palace are bad. I'm just saying they're not as good as these massive teams because they're not as wealthy as the teams are. Which, I mean, it's not like a bad thing that they're not as wealthy. It's just that the teams that have more money is a big advantage over the teams that don't have as much money. It's not as fair, and that's why I believe there should be a transfer a transfer money cap at about 150 million roughly, so that teams like Manchester United, uh, Chelsea, Manchester City, Arsenal, teams like that can't spend so much money just to bring in these massive players. So then it can't get so out of hand, because like PSG did it. They're one of the wealthiest, if not the wealthiest clubs in the world right now. And we've seen the French league. It's completely dominated by PSG, unfairly as well, because they have so much more money. That's just one of the examples that wealth can have over the rest of the team. There's no competition who's going to win it. I think they won it by about 30 points last season, 2030, something stupid like that. Sorry, I'm getting a bit passionate about that. I was getting a bit passionate about it then. It also makes it easier for clubs to get big players when they have big managers coming in. Like Manchester United just brought in Jose Mourinho, who got sacked from Chelsea. What a load of idiots for sacking Jose Mourinho, one of the best managers ever to have graced the pitch. Well, not really the pitch, more of like the manager box. But yeah, Chelsea got Antonio Conte. I don't know how to quite say his name. Arsenal have Arsene Wenger. I don't know, how do you say it? Wenger. It's not important. Whatever. Yeah, they have. Liverpool have got Jurgen Klopp, the mad German himself. Um, Managers like that, they attract big names, and it's only like once in a blue moon. That is not a reference to Manchester City. Also, Manchester City getting Pep Guardiola. It's not fair. I wanted him. Whatever. Yeah. It's only once in a blue moon that you see a big manager go into a small club, like thingy. What's his name? Rafa Benitez. Rafa Benitez just went to, well, not just, but Rafa Benitez recently went to Newcastle, who got unfortunately got relegated from the Premier League, now in the Championship next season. But I think they'll come out of it, to be honest. But Rafa Benitez has worked at the highest level in football as a manager. Managed clubs such as Liverpool when they were in their prime, when Real Madrid recently. It's teams like that, Chelsea as well. Teams such as that. He's a big manager. Sorry, and you just don't see it often enough. And that's why something like a draft would be good. I don't know how it would work. I mean, it probably would never happen in the football game. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know how it would work and stuff. But something on the lines of a draft where smaller teams would get good players and then could turn their whole history and their club around from declining teams such as Newcastle, Sunderland, West Brom. These teams that aren't quite as good, for the Barclays Premier League. You could say, oh, that's what relegations for, promotions are for, and whatnot. But that's the team. And like quite often, you see, there's teams that get into that like grey part, that bad part where they're constantly getting promoted from the Championship and then getting relegated back down to the Championship, or maybe in La Liga they get promoted from the Adelante and then get relegated back down. It's not that great. That's when you know that you're missing that franchise player, that superstar in your team that all these wealthy teams are hugging or taking. It's things that annoy me. Let me just back up this point I'm making about predictability. In the Premier League, it's that what I'm afraid of happening is there will be like a top 5 teams in the Premier League that are going to distance themselves from the lower half of the table, like the mid table to lower half of the table, in such a way that there'll be like a 20-point difference. And you can already see it. Liverpool were 10 points ahead of Chelsea, and Liverpool finished 8th in the Premier League. So that's already happening. Now you could say that's down to Chelsea, but it's you can start to see these little differences coming each time these teams bring in such a massive player. Now, if Manchester United bring in Paul Pogba, can you imagine the team? They will dominate the Premier League with players such as Ibrahimovic. There he is now, just scored. Paul Pogba, Juan Mata, Rooney, of course. David De Gea if he stays. It's like that, but it seems to be like there's always these teams that are constantly lurking around big names. Like Pogba could either go to Manchester United or he could go to Real Madrid. It seems to be either there's about 6 teams. It's like Real Madrid, PSG, Barcelona, Manchester United, Manchester City, and Chelsea. That seems to be like all the teams, with the exception of like the Italian teams as well. That seems to be the teams that all the big names want to go to instead of being like a club player and stick to like their roots and stuff. I understand that they want to play at a bigger level, but there's got to be a point where the Barclays Premier League steps in and says, no, you cannot have more than, say, like 3 massive players in your team, more than 2 massive players in your team, because there's a point where it starts to get boring to watch these teams. That's what I'm afraid of happening next season if Manchester United do sign these players. And I've already said that, but I just want to emphasise the point that I'm making and how drastic it will affect the Premier League for the worse. Now, I want to make a point on the fact that this has happened in the NBA just recently. Well, I think this will happen. Now, a little bit of insight, backstory, whatever you want to call it. Can't really think of the word right now. But the Golden State Warriors last season finished with the most wins in NBA history, with the big 3 of Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, and of course Steph Curry. Now they've just signed a big player, one of the top 3 best players in the league right now. Kevin Durant has just signed for Golden State Warriors. Now that's going to mean that there's going to be no competition really about who's going to win the final, who's going to win the playoffs. They're going to be practically unbeatable. Now that is because they're not only going to have a big 3, they're going to have a big 4 with a bonus of like whatever center they may have. This is what I don't want to happen into the Premier League. I don't want there to be one outstanding, obvious top dog in the Premier League who's going to win. Going to be a massive franchise forever. Obviously, Manchester United are a franchise. They will carry on. They are going to be a dynasty. They're going to carry on after for years and years. Going to be in the top level. But I don't want it to be so obvious. I want there to be changes. I want there always to be competition around the Premier League. There will be, but for how long we don't know. It's just these things I don't want to happen, where there's an overpowering team, there's an obvious team who's going to win this game. It's just a scary thought to think about. I don't want to be unhappy. I don't want to not look forward to watching matches. But that'll be all for today, guys. Please like, subscribe, and is favourite still a thing? Whatever. See you in a bit.